Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has had his hands certainly full since he was confirmed to the job in late January. A deadly crash here in Washington, planes catching on fire while on the tarmac, collisions on the runway. All of those have left Americans deeply concerned about their safety when boarding flights these days. The latest challenge we've seen playing out is this meltdown that's been underway at Newark Airport in New Jersey. Air traffic controllers, screens, and radios went out for up to 90 seconds there in recent days. And today, Secretary Duffy announced a dramatic overhaul to the nation's entire air traffic control system as President Trump called in to voice his support.
I'm sorry what you're going through with the terminals, but we're going to get them fixed up, and I imagine Sean's been telling you that. And I was going to do that in my first month of my second term, but my second term got delayed 4 years, unbelievably.
Now, this plan that the secretary rolled out is quite ambitious. It includes updating 4,600 air traffic control facilities nationwide, replacing about 600 different radars, and also rebuilding 6 air traffic control centers. What could be more ambitious is the timeline, the goal to get it all done in 3 years. My next source tonight knows a lot about this. She served as the transportation secretary in the first Trump administration and was labor secretary under President George W. Bush. And Elaine Chao joins me now. It's so great to have you here,
Thanks for having me.
Secretary. Obviously, this is a huge undertaking that they are about to try to face. I wonder what you make of how challenging it'll be to fix what we're seeing play out right now.
Well, I think Secretary Duffy deserves a great deal of credit for just strongly addressing this issue. This is one of the most difficult issues in our country today, and it has been simmering for decades, and it has been so difficult to address it. So when I was in office, we actually introduced a bill in 2017 that would take the air traffic controllers out of the FAA and put it in its own independent status with its own board, so that it would have much greater freedom in addressing procurement delays, in hiring, and also in addressing the facilities, which clearly need a great deal of attention and investment.
What do you make of the 3 to 4 years timeline? Because he's argued essentially that he's been given certain timelines and he wants to speed that up. Understandably, they'd like to see this changed when they're in office. But do you think maybe it's too ambitious, or do you think it's doable?
I think it's doable. It depends on how you define success. This is a very, very complicated problem. Basically, the whole air traffic control situation is reduced to 3 major factors. One is basically, personnel, air traffic controllers. We're missing about 3,000 air traffic controllers out of the 13,000 that we need as a nation. And the second issue is, of course, technology. It just takes so long to procure the necessary equipment to make our system an updated one. I mean, we hear all these horror stories about how outdated the equipment is. And then thirdly, there are so many facilities that frankly need to be looked at and see whether some better reform or organization would really address this. So unless we address all of that, I think it would be hard to really address the issues about delays. But again, what Secretary Duffy did today was very necessary, and it's a very important first step.
Yeah, and the other aspect is getting Congress to approve all of this. I mean, and this didn't seem to be as maybe at the top of minds for everyone. House Republicans, including Sean Duffy, when you were the transportation secretary, voted against upgrades to the air traffic control system. It was a party line vote. They all voted against it. One thing that has happened as we've watched all this play out is a bit of a blame game. And, we've heard some people say it's President Biden's fault and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's. They were in office for 4 years. Obviously, President Trump and you were there before. I wonder what you would say in terms of just, the state of where it is right now and who's responsible for that.
I think we should put the blame game aside. I mean, these are very important issues. The air traffic control system affects the economic vitality, the vibrancy of our economy. It affects productivity. So I think we should just come together as a country and gather the political will to make these changes. And that includes all sorts of changes, like we don't have enough air traffic controllers. It used to be prior to 2016, there were many sources of people who can come in as air traffic controllers. If they were part of the military, if they went to a college and they had training there, but no longer. And so, given what's happened, there is a tremendous washout of people who just don't make, the final cut. And out of thousands of applicants, 36 successful candidates emerge at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's
so small.
a highly skilled position.
The nation's air traffic control system is getting a major facelift in an effort to make flying even safer. New air traffic control centers, new radar, decades-old technology getting replaced. Here's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy unveiling the bold new plan earlier today.
All the front-facing equipment for controllers, all the back-end systems for controllers, all brand new. All new hardware, all new software is going to be built into this brand new air traffic control system.
CNN aviation correspondent Pete Montine's with me. Pete, you just spoke with Secretary Duffy. What did he tell you about this major overhaul?
Well, Duffy essentially laid out a huge and sweeping overhaul here that will be a huge new priority of the Trump administration. And he told me that conditions could be just right to bring air traffic control into the 21st century. Need all backed up by reports from the Government Accountability Office. The most one said FAA actions are urgently needed to modernize systems. Here's the rub, described to me by a member of Congress. This is like changing the spark plugs of your car while you're still driving it, because the air traffic control system runs around the clock. The issues were just highlighted by the Newark air traffic control meltdown on April 28th. That led to those staffing shortages and days of delays. Aging equipment has been pinpointed as the cause, and Duffy told me that incident is now a call to action.
This is real. And you've actually lost controllers because they were so stressed when that happened. And so what I would tell you is what you saw in Newark, you will see variations of that through the airspace in the coming years unless we undertake this mission.
As Duffy made this announcement, he was flanked by the equipment that controllers use. We're talking about cathode ray tubes for radar screens about as old as I am. Here's what's in the Trump administration's plan. Replace more than 600 radars, rebuild 6 air traffic control centers, replace the copper wiring at 4,600 air traffic facilities with fiber optic cable. Transportation Secretary Duffy insists he can do this in 3 to 4 years. And I was skeptical on this show on Tuesday, and Duffy even mentioned that today. Duffy said this administration will not move at the typical pace of government, and he could start seeing changes within a year.
What is the Secretary's plan to get this done as quickly as he wants to do it, and how much will it cost?
The cost estimates really vary, $12 billion to $30 billion, depending on who you ask. Duffy says if he's able to get the money up front from Congress, he can meet the timeline here. Also, if this administration is able to reform the permitting process. The industry is fully on board here. And we heard support today from unions, trade associations, even manufacturers like Boeing. One interesting moment here to Jake, the CEOs from 5 of the biggest U.S. airlines literally lined up in support of this. These are all fierce rivals, a lot of history here. United CEO Scott Kirby told me live on the air today that if the Trump administration is able to pull this off, this will be a historic move.
Well, let's hope that they're able to pull it off. Lives are literally on the line. Pete Montine, great reporting. Thanks so much, and I'm glad Secretary Duffy watches the lead. Exciting to hear.